As we mentioned, blood pressure, we need to mention pressure support, oxygen requirement, changes during the 24 hours. And then we need, like if the patient is on, a ventilator, then we need to mention the PEEP and the FiO2. And then if there are a couple of patients that you will encounter who might be on ECMO, those are kind of like people who fail to oxygenate with ventilation and require an ECMO, which is basically the extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, just like a dialysis machine, but it does that for oxygenation. In that regard, you will see two parameters, which is called the sweep and the flow. So you need to mention these two regarding oxygen requirement. If a ventilator, usually you mention PEEP and FiO2. If ECMO, you mention the sweep and the flow. Mm-hmm. These are the big ones. That matters for the attending and will make changes for his plans. Heart rate trends, you can mention if the patient was like yesterday he was in the 80s, today he's in the 120s. There might be something going on, and we need to dig into that. Fever, they don't care about anything below 38. You don't need to mention like 37.9 or like 37.6 or things like that. 38 and above, that's what they care about, and even single spike matters, so you need to report that.
I think unlike the other vitals where Omar had mentioned giving ranges for temperature, it's good to just report the 24-hour Tmax. You can just say the Tmax was this in the last 24 hours.
Yeah. So that's for the fever. So vitals are big because that's basically why most people are in the ICU. Then ins and outs, and I will show you in the chart where to go and see the ins and outs. And you need to special attention to the urine output and the bowel movements. Sometimes they describe a watery bowel movement, so that's important. Then we'll go about labs. Sometimes, so the standard stuff, usually like a CBC and a BMP, sometimes like a CMP. So if it's, try avoid saying normal, because I doubt any patient in the ICU will have like a normal labs. You just need to mention it's unchanged from the day before, or you can mention unremarkable in terms of like nothing on the labs will make a change in the plan today. He might have hemoglobin of 9, which is the same for the past 3 days. So we're not going to make any changes. So we can mention that labs are unremarkable or stable from the day prior. If there is something significantly abnormal that is changing from the last couple of days, you can mention like uptrending, downtrending. You can just give a hint to the attending that there is some abnormal trend that you need to take care of it. So that's usually how to go about the labs. Then you need to review microbiology, if anything growing from the cultures that we collected initially. And then you review imaging, if there's any new imaging in the last 24 hours. And then you go about notes. Usually you try to review the notes from consultants, RT, nursing, see if there's anything that is worth mentioning to the attending. So sometimes like the ID consult note mentioned like a different type of antibiotics, or they recommend discontinuing antibiotics. That's probably something that the attending want to know to change his plan about the patient. Other than that, probably not every single note need to be mentioned. You just need to skim through the notes, make sure that you're not missing like some important information, especially like RTs might mention like a desaturation event in the middle of the night. Nursing might mention some like agitation requiring like the overnight physician to put like an orders for like Zipraxa to help the agitation of the patient. So these are kind of events that you might need to be aware of and report to the attending from the notes. So I'll just show you like a sample patient, and then how to do that process quickly without like wasting your time on a single patient. So let's see. I'll just go like a random patient, and then we'll see how we go about his chart. So how I start my chart checking, basically I have these tabs here. and the summary, I go to adult overview, and then from adult overview, you can see I usually change it to 1 hour, and then in the hospital have a bigger screen, so you have like a better view than this one. So you will see like the trend of the temperature. So like you see this patient is spiking a fever now, and then you can see like the trend of the heart rate was in the 70s, now in the 120s, and then we can see the blood pressure is kind of dropping